May want to get your car started a little bit earlier today. Get it warmed up because keeping your car running in the cold might be a challenge if you are not prepared.
How many shots did Deborah have yesterday of people just stalled on the side of the road? Let's get the latest live Central Austin outside the KXAN studios. David Barani with Ready Automotive. Some tips for us this morning. David, good to see you. Thanks again for being here. Hey, in the last hour, we talked about the antifreeze, the wiper fluid, tire pressure. Got to check all those things. Let's talk about if your battery goes dead. How important, as we were talking about earlier, are the cold cranking amps on batteries?
Yes, you need to, your battery will say on top right here what cranking amps it is. This one here is 800 cold cranking amps. But if the battery does go weak on you in the mornings, you can jump it off with your jumper cables.
Yeah, good idea to carry some jumper cables in weather like this. But as we were talking about earlier, it's also a recipe for disaster if you don't know what you're doing. Tell us about, making sure you got the positive connection and everything hooked up right.
Yes, that's a big thing. If you hook the battery up backwards, it can cause the battery to blow up. So you always make sure you put the red on the positive and the black on the negative. And
you can go the negative. Sometimes you can just work that on any piece of metal in the car, right?
Yes. Yes, you can put it on like a metal bracket or something. Yeah. I don't have one really on this engine, but yeah, you can kind of just bolt it to a bracket also and just make sure the red one's on the positive.
Okay, and then it's also, a must to make sure the car you're hooking it up to has the exact same, right? You got to go positive to positive and negative to negative.
Yes.
Okay, David, quickly, before we let you go, tell us about the sequence of starting the cars. If you got a dead battery, do you hook the jumpers up and then start the car to jump it off of, or do you already have it started and then put the jumper cables on? What's the best method?
It's best to have the engine off and then hook all your cables up and then start the other vehicle that you're jumping your vehicle with and let it run for about like a minute or so it charges up the battery so your car will start.
Then get in and start it. You were saying earlier anywhere between 7 and 10 minutes for that heater to crank up and get your car warm if you're going to go out and start it in the morning too.
Yes, it takes usually about 7 to 10 minutes with the weather this cold to make the heater start working, yes.
All right, it's a good idea. And if you have a wife, go out and start her car in the morning and start this off on the right foot. All right, Ready Automotive doing such great work, David. We thank you for coming in and being with us this morning. We wanted to mention, too, before we let him go. First time in 22 years he had a customer with a car completely frozen. So I said, well, what'd you do? Well, we had to let it thaw out.
For 5 hours.
About 5 hours it took. All right, good advice from David. Thanks for that. 506.